Many white rappers complain about being white rappers. Why could this be? Today, we're going to explore this topic. My name is Arda Allen. I am a longtime rhymer of words and a connoisseur of all things hip hop. Today, we are going to address the proverbial elephant in the white rooms. Why do people not take white rappers seriously? Has it always been this way? Or is it worse now than it's ever been? I believe the first white rapper ever was Bob Dylan. In 1965, he had a song called Subterranean Homesick Blues, in which Maggie comes fleetfoot, face full of black soot, talking that the heat put plants in the bed butt. The phone's tapped anyway. Maggie says that many say they must bust in early May. Orders from the DA. It's like crooked government, cops, drugs, social inequality. Bob Dylan's lyrics were quite poignant for their time. Was he a rapper? No. But on that song, Subterranean Homesick Blues, he appears to be rapping. Let's move forward to 1980. Blondie, the rock band, released a song called Rapture. Deborah Harry, the lead singer, raps this. 'Cause the man from Mars stopped eating cars and bars, and now he only eats guitars. What's that mean? I don't really know. However, it should be noted that the idea of someone rapping, putting words together rhythmically over music, is an older idea in general. Hip hop started in the 70s. In many ways, it is a sort of byproduct of disco in the disco era. Drum loops were created and sampled, and MCs rapped over them live, and eventually records were recorded. Now, in 1980, that white record by Blondie and Deborah Harry specifically was only 1 year removed from Sugar Hill Gang's Rapper's Delight. To give you some context, Rodney Dangerfield has a song called Rappin' Rodney, also in the 80s. I don't have the specific year written down here in my notes. I apologize. But the Beastie Boys in 1986 released License to Ill. They were a punk, rock, hip hop hybrid. They were not a traditional hip hop group, although they had hip hop roots. And me, being a Rick Rubin fan, I appreciate what they were able to do sonically and what they were able to put together. However, it's not quite the same, is it? Dylan wasn't received as a rapper. Blondie was certainly a rock group. Rodney Dangerfield. The late 80s, you had Third Base, a predominantly white group, specifically MC Search, who went on to produce for Nas on Illmatic. Now, MC Search is respected. Vanilla Ice, however, was not. Vanilla Ice had the biggest hit in the world with Ice Ice Baby. He was eventually sued for the sample from Queen, Under Pressure. But he made that actually independently and then was signed, and I think that's how that happened, if I'm not mistaken. But people didn't take Vanilla Ice seriously. MC Search dissed him. MC Search was accepted. Third Base was relatively accepted, especially compared to most other white acts at the time. Why? That's what I want to get to the bottom of in this video. Why white rappers are generally disrespected in hip hop culture. Is it because they're white? Or is it something else? MC Search and Third Base broke up in 1991. They had dissed the likes of MC Hammer and Vanilla Ice and even Professor Giff for Public Enemy. If you don't know, now you know. So we're at a point where there has been attempts for white acts to break into the genre, but mostly it's been ineffective. And then comes Eminem. Eminem actually started rapping in the late 80s. His first actual album was Infinite, but there's actually earlier work with Soul Intent. When Eminem broke in, he was accepted because he was co-signed by Dr. Dre. And also, he was a rapping ass motherfucker. Slim Shady, brain dead like Jim Brady, Eminem 80, you little like that Kim lady. Now he's gone through the battle circuits, right? He's been booed. We get to a point where he's accepted. He gets on the Dead Wrong song with Biggie's vocals on I think that was the Duets album. It was a posthumous release of Biggie's. Kills it. He's got the Sway and Tech freestyle stuff. He's got all these things coming in, right? The Rap Olympics, the Scribble Jam, all these things. But people want to know, can he rap? Well, the answer was yes. He could rap. And people look past the color of his skin because not only could he rap, but he showed respect to the culture. He was co-signed by one of the most important figures in hip hop, legendary producer Dr. Dre. Over time, he was more and more respected. Starting Shady Aftermath, bringing attention to artists such as 50 Cent, Obi Trice. He did that. And he cared enough to do that when he didn't really have to. He was respected for that. He gets on Renegade, and maybe it's because of Jay. Maybe it's because of Nas that people think what they think. Maybe Jay just didn't rap well enough. Maybe he did, and Nas exaggerated something and planted a seed in people's minds. Subconsciously grow over time and believe that he was indubitably out-rapped. Do I think that he was out-rapped? Jay-Z by Eminem? Not really. I used to. I think that they're very different styles of writing or putting words together. I think I had to hustle back to the wall, Ashy Knuckles. Jay paints a very vivid picture himself, so let's not act like Jay-Z can't rap. Like he literally recorded multiple number one multi-platinum albums without writing any of it down. That did happen. It's one thing to make music without writing anything down. It's another thing to make number one albums without writing them down. What about other guys? Aside from Eminem, though, how about Asher Roth, who had Asleep in the Bread Aisle as his debut album in 2009, I think it was. He had a song called Man, I Love College. Maybe that's why. There are many reasons. There are a lot of reasons that white rappers don't get the respect they should, in my opinion. But the biggest reason is that most of them are not truly of the cloth. Being of the cloth, I think, can mean a few different things. Him going through the battle circuit gave him cloth credentials. His cosign by Dr. Dre and his outright rapping ability gave him cloth credentials. If you don't like what Eminem says, you should be impressed with his ability to put words together. If not, I don't know what to tell you. You're probably not truly a fan of the craft. Now, why is any of this important? Well, because you've got guys like Action Bronson around and Marlon Craft. And these are dope MCs. You've had guys like Aesop Rock, dope MCs. Alchemist himself, who is been highly respected as a producer, most notably early on in his career working with Mobb Deep, who Prodigy says in his book was like the cool white boy, right? He can rap. He's got songs with, what is it? Like Rock Marcy. Alchemist has songs with Rock Marcy, and they're dope. His verses are dope. How about Kid Rock, who started off rapping in the early 90s and then became the American Badass? The disgruntled Bud Light opinion aficionado. Is it for good reason that these white rappers are being disrespected? Dylan was not a rapper, but he's surely not disrespected. And he did win a Nobel Prize in Literature, so that means something. Eminem has been not just a great white rapper, but one of the more influential and best selling artists of the last few decades. Now, if that's true, does that mean that you have to be successful commercially in order to be a good white rapper? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Eminem, early in his career, talked about having a young child that he wasn't sure if he could take care of. He talked about having a girlfriend and mother of a child that was cheating and on drugs, a mother that was on drugs and that was abusive and would not take responsibility for what she had done. These things gave him the ability to resonate with people. Do people bump Eminem in the whip? Not necessarily. Maybe some, but not many. That's not what it's about. Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan was performing protest songs at the Civil Rights Movement during protests, during the height of racial tension during the 60s, when Martin Luther King conducted his I Have a Dream speech. Bob performed there. And you see, people of color accepted Bob, not into hip hop culture, but into their world. Bob was a beat poet fan before making music. He hung out with jazz musicians and blues musicians and smoked weed during a time when white people were quite ostracized for smoking marijuana. If you were smoking marijuana back then, something was wrong with you. People of color enjoyed marijuana. Bob Dylan enjoyed marijuana. He always respected the culture. Eminem respects the culture. One is a hip hop act. One is not. One is a hip hop act. One is not. Both rap. both put words together, and those words, at least in their primes, reflected something of substance that people could hold on to. And they happened to be good at putting the words together. Bob didn't go to protest to do his songs because it was the easiest thing to do. He did it because he believed that there was an insufferable injustice that colored people in this country were being subjected to. That's what he believed. Hip hop is about taking nothing and making something out of it. There's a tie between folk music and hip hop. Because of this, we need to understand the roots. If you're a white rapper, you need to know you are operating within the parameters of a hip hop stratosphere that does not welcome anyone that is not of and for the cloth, and you still may be denied. However, you will earn your respect. The reason that Vanilla Ice has been constantly ridiculed and been the subject of so much criticism is because he tried to infiltrate a culture that was not his and make it something like his, creating pop-like music in the name of hip-hop. People don't like that very much. I think that's why people like MC Serch still, to this day in 2025, have the respect of the community. Much, much more so than a Vanilla Ice or, say, a Rodney Dangerfield. Vultures should not be accepted into hip hop nor any other culture. A lot of white rappers do not respect the culture because they are not from the culture. They are from something else. They like the music, but they don't understand that it is more than just music. It is about social injustice. It is about poverty. It is about making something from nothing. It is about putting words together that paint pictures of what it's like to live without, or perhaps to live with, but only when one has lived without. People like Asher Roth don't typically make it because he's not from the cloth. You see, Mac Miller is an exception because Mac Miller made similar type of music when he come in, except Mac Miller actually respected the culture. Mac Miller decided at an early age to decipher the culture and learn the culture, and he was around the culture, and it showed in his work. Even though in his early work it didn't present itself as much because he was finding his voice and he was figuring out what type of art he wanted to make, not to mention that he was still growing and had to develop his skill set and repertoire as an artist. But he did that over time, and we saw a white rapper that was actually good, that touched people and made a difference. Some people argue Eminem doesn't do that now. No matter which side of that you were on, we all know that he did that at one time. Songs like Cleaning Out My Closet, super important. Songs like Sing for the Moment, super important. Even some of the deep cuts, like Who Knew off the Marshall Mathers LP. A lot of these white rappers don't make important records. They try, but they can't. Because what's most important to them is their presentation and fitting in and being accepted rather than making art that is genuine to them and who they really are. And that discrepancy is why many white rappers are disrespected, and justifiably so. I think we need to reset white rapper culture, and let's do ourselves a favor and bring back dope white artists that aren't trying to straddle the lines between punk, rock, emo, hip hop, and country. Let's if you want to do those things, that's fine, but stay the fuck over there. Don't come to hip hop with that. Stop. Nobody wants to hear that. Like and subscribe. R. Allen here. I hope that you got something out of this video. I want you all to recognize the importance of keeping it real. Keeping it real is important. We must keep it at least 99. I think the people who say that they keep it 100 are probably lying, because nobody does, and that's exactly why they're not keeping it 100. It's proof. But that's another subject for another day, guys. What I do know is that white rappers need to stop. They need to stop pretending that they are from something that they are not. They need to also, whether they are from it or not, respect it. Most of them are not. They need to respect the culture. They need to respect the culture. And there are white artists out there who do really, really care about the culture, and they could be someone that you've never heard of. Who knows what they might do? They could be a really dope, mentally ill person that happens to be white and from the culture, from the cloth, and could get really, really suicidal ideations should stay out of people's music. I think that is my message. Keep it real, white rappers. Keep it real and respect the fucking culture, or you will be disrespected. And I will laugh.